So, yesterday I mentioned something that I think was very important, and it really is going to come down and be super helpful. You know, I do these things, well, there's one thing called a mutual fund, and I've been putting money in there for a really long time. And it's got a good amount of money in it right now. And the reason is not so much how much you put in, though, you know, it helps to put in more, but it's how long you leave it there. It's an exponential chart. So if this is an exponential graph, you know that at some point the exponential graph begins to curve up. And once you get to the time it takes to get to this curve up, everything gets so big so fast you get tons of money, tons of money. Now, likewise with your studying. If you study hard, particularly in the beginning, it will pay huge dividends for you later when we get close to the Regents. It is my deepest, Sydney, hope that every one of you have a new notebook on the side that every time you get a question wrong on your homework or on a quiz, you're copying that question down and you're going over those questions, copying them down every day you get them wrong, going over them, say 3 days a week, working the things you got wrong. If you do that, you will not continually get things wrong. Now, let's take a look at today's answers. First question talks about comparing the salary for company 1 and company 2 in several different ways. Looking at the medians, looking at the means, looking at the range, and looking at the means again. And when you look at the choices, the only one that is true is choice 3. The range in company 2 is huge. It's $65,000 to $29,000. That's $36,000. But the range in number 1 is only $8,000. So the salary range in 2 is greater than the salary range in 1. Okay? Questions? All right. Now, the easiest way to do this one is to put it into your calculator. Put it into the calculator under y equals. You go to the table, and you look which point is not in the table. 3, -6 would not be in the table. Questions? All right. Next up, we're going to do some subtraction here. And the biggest thing you have to remember is that it says r minus c. So this is the r function, the expression, and this is the c. But you have to subtract the whole thing, which means you have to put parentheses around it. So you have to distribute the negative sign, or if you wanted to write the -1 there, which changes the positive 300x to a negative 300x, and it changes the plus 250 to a minus 250. Then it's combining like terms. The only term with the x squared is negative 0.5. Then 800 and 300 is 500x, and negative 100 and negative 250 is negative 350. Okay? So that works out to be choice 2. And last but not least, with a question like this, when they want to know which point is in the solution set, they will often put the coordinates where they meet as a choice. That's not the answer here, because this is a broken line. The points on the broken line, just like when you do an open circle, the number's actually not an answer. The broken line points are not answers. So you have to look for where it's double shaded. 7-0 is where it's double shaded. Yes?
I found that number 4 also was in the solution set.
-3, 5. It's up here.
Oh, wait.
I'm sorry, over here. Okay? All right. Now let's go to scan 3, which is the next sheet that we worked on. When you're talking about a y-intercept, what is the x's value?
Oh, you said x and you said
We're getting there.
y.
Well, I know that. When you have a y-intercept, what is the x's value? 0. When you have an x-intercept, what is the y's value? 0. So this wants, as Anthony just said, it wants the x-intercept. So I have to put the 0 in for y. 5 times, yeah, right? 5 times 0 is 0. So 4x is 40, dividing by 4, x is 10.
Yeah, I wasn't paying attention. I saw we could find like the slope.
And this is the, listen, this is the important thing to do. You remember the story of Eloise, and remember how her grade went up so much just by circling and underlining?
Yep.
The test is tricky. The material, I am fully confident you can know the material. What I think is when you get things wrong, most of the time, you're falling for tricks and traps. Don't fall for tricks and traps. Be very conscientious, very thorough when you read it. Know exactly what they're looking for. Okay, next one. Sam and Jeremy have ages that are consecutive odd integers. Now, this question was just on quizzes a little bit ago. Product of their ages is 783. And they're consecutive odd. How do I go from one consecutive odd to the next? Add 2, right? 7 to 9, 9 to 11. So, here's J. Here's J plus 2. I have to multiply them. J times J plus 2 is 783. And then I distribute. That gives me J squared plus 2J. Questions?
No.
All right. It wants the graph that has an initial number of 20 birds. That knocks out choice 1. And it knocks, the other 2 are good. Then it says it doubles the population growth. That is an exponential function. This is a linear function. This means you're adding 20 every time. Adding 20 is not doubling. This is not increasing, it's doing what? Decreasing. So this is not it either. This is the only one that looks to be doubling every single time, choice 1. And last but not least, the easiest way to do this, the domain is what variable? Domain, what variable?
Why?
Domain, what variable? X. Range, what variable? Y. So let's go into our calculators and type in y equals 2x minus 4. And then when you type in y equals 2x minus 4, go look at the x values. Ready? Here we go. The x values from 2 to 6. And look at what y values match up from when x goes from 2 to 6. The y values that match up will be the y going from 0 to 8. Does that make sense? All right, so that's how we get the last one in the easiest way. All right. Are there any other questions about your quiz that I can go over or address? I cannot emphasize enough just how important it is to get questions wrong and then keep a record of what you've gotten wrong and how to do them correctly. Let's say in this book that you keep the record of the ones you get wrong. Let's say you find out after 2 weeks that there's a whole lot of questions on there about domain and range. That means you need to be in extra help asking about domain and range. But let's say that there's no pattern to the things you're missing. Then it's probably getting tricked and trapped. Okay, because you know the content to almost always get it right. All right, you may work together for the rest of the period on the packet I gave you yesterday. Tomorrow, it is my full intention, my hope, to present you with the correct answers to that packet. And the reason I hesitate, I will not be in tomorrow, and as of now, my son is supposed to sub for me, but sometimes they switch him around. And I'm not giving every sub the access to my laptop, but I would give Jimmy the access to my laptop. So, I have to do that. Yes?
Do you have the number for his pizza place?
Yeah, I think it's 654-2016, but I'll look it up right now.
I had
Little
it.
free advertising on YouTube for the Pepperoni Grill. Listen, the owner of the place, his name is Frank, and he's got this son. I don't know what his son's name is, but whenever the son cooks, don't order. When the other guys are there, they're awesome, absolutely awesome.
Yeah, your son said that they make the best buffalo chicken pizza on Long Island.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Some of their stuff is really, really good. All right,
I don't
so
think it's better than Del Furie's, but I mean, it's probably good.
contact
Del Furie's.
Pepperoni Grill,
I usually drink-
207-4261. 207-4261. All right.